this point, we do have a quorum. So I am going to officially open the Town of Bridgewater Finance Committee meeting on September 29th at 7:03 p.m. in the evening. And our first order of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting. Do we have any questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, MJ. We have a second.
Second, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Josh, if you can do a roll call for us.
Nathan,
I'll abstain. I was not here.
Julie,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Kathy,
I'm not sure. I think I need to abstain. I wasn't here. I wasn't part of it.
yep, that's fine.
Yeah, that'd be right.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. Moving on to the next item on our agenda is public comment. If we do have any public comment, I would ask that you state your full name and your street address. Do we have any public comments? No public comments? Okay, we will move on to our next order of business, and that is welcoming our newest member, Kathy Martin. Welcome aboard, Kathy. Do you have a little introduction you'd like to give to the rest of the group?
Sure.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Martin. I live in Bridgewater. I've been here for a little over 20 years, and I work at Bristol Community College. I'm the risk compliance officer, and I have an MBA, and I've also worked in audit, and my background's in audit and risk and financial services, and I'm happy to be part of this group. Thank you.
All right. Welcome aboard. Thank you, Kathy.
Welcome.
Welcome,
Thanks.
Kathy.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome.
Kathy, are you on the town manager, town council? Which group are you who appointed you? Do you know, like do you know which group you're part of?
Yeah, I think I was appointed by the town manager.
Town manager. Okay, thanks. Just curious. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And Josh, correct me if I'm wrong,
I'm happy.
You may know this. I see Eric joined us. On the three items that we have on the agenda tonight, since we haven't discussed them before, I believe you can vote on these tonight, this evening, Kathy, if you feel comfortable. Right,
Okay,
Josh?
thanks.
That's correct.
Yep, as long as she feels comfortable and she's read them, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on to our new business. The first item on the agenda is FY 22-011. Transfer order, sick leave, contractual buyouts. Laura, you have any info that you can pass on to our newer members?
Sure. So late this afternoon, I spoke to Josh. I guess one of you guys wanted to get a link to all the union contracts, which we'll be happy to send a link so that you can get a feel for what the contracts are for all of so the town currently has a police association, fire, United Steelworkers is a professional. We have a clerical union. We have a library union. I think there's 5, and then there's an allotment of personal contracts, which are all obviously public record. And when I tried to gather all of the contracts today to share with everyone, I couldn't get my hands on the latest and greatest, so I don't want to give you guys any old information. Because some of the contracts, I don't want to confuse anyone because they're signed from a certain period, and then they have a memorandum of agreement. So some of those aren't like together, and I just felt like it would be confusing to just throw a bunch of contracts with the memorandums to, you would have had like about 15 pages of things. So I'm going to try to organize them, and I guess the HR department is currently working to get a link up on their page so that, not only can you at any time click on any contract, whether it's a, bargaining unit or a personal contract, you'll be able to get the links online. And so
Sorry, this is Julie. That was my request because I know the explanation is contractual buyouts, retirements, and employee
Sure.
liabilities. Part of me was curious of what the breakdown was on each of those
Yep.
potentially, and or if buyouts are like in future contracts or just past like if they're still in there, or if it's, you know what I'm asking? Like I know in the school district,
Yeah.
once upon a time, you could buy your sick back time, then you couldn't,
Yeah.
now you can again. You know, that kind of information, like if we're going to see this
Absolutely. So,
continually, or if this is, you know, the end of the line, you know, that, those are the kind of questions I had, but I won't be able to
yeah,
answer. I don't know if, how much,
these
or
are
how
the
many
end of the
people they
line big
represent.
ones. Mhm.
What's that?
These are the end of the grandfathered members of the bargaining units that did have the buyouts, because most of the new employees, I think starting with the clerical union back in 2015, any new employee coming on after like 2013 or 14, you know, most of them have no buyouts for new employees. So it was the remaining members of each bargaining unit, you know, and typically it's the big fire and police. So it is winding down, but there's still some larger liabilities. But now, you know, people coming on can't, you know, buy out any time. So they've been negotiating that right out of the picture.
And in the explanation piece where it says employee liabilities, what is that? I know what a buyout is. I know what a retirement is. What would be an example of an employee liability?
Let me just look at what the order is again. Yeah, they're all actually retirements, liabilities. Yeah, they're all contractual. The CED one is a member of the clerical union. It's one of the last grandfathered buys. The police is also,
And there's two police categories. So does that represent,
it's an employee. Yeah,
so each line item is one employee?
correct. Hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Lori, these aren't the last of the grandfathered employees?
Not the very last, but yeah, there's a handful of employees remaining, which is what the finance director has been working on. We've come up with a really great mousetrap of identifying the town's liabilities as a whole. We've been working on that project for the last I don't know, year, but we finally get a good mousetrap so we can identify anyone's liability at any time, including the pension. We're going to do a presentation on that, or actually Tony's going to do a presentation on that. So you'll see that, along with, I think you alluded earlier, or Josh did, that Tony and Michael are going to come before you and the Budget and Finance Committee with a results of operation for fiscal 21. And I think that will answer some of the previous meetings questions, and it'll just give you, you know, an idea of what happened in fiscal 21, you know, what our free cash that was recently certified. And the finance director wants to put the priority to fund these liabilities, so you won't see them coming up in front of you anymore. And he can give you a detailed breakout of what each, you know, by bargaining unit or by you know, employee. So it'll be a very detailed
Does the
presentation to
town
you.
council see it the same way we do, or do they get more detail than what this shows us?
No, they get the same thing. No, they get the same thing. And of course, if, you know, there is further questions, then, you know, you can ask for if you want the employee name. Is that what you mean by more detail, or?
No, I guess, I mean, without knowing, like you, I mean, we had to ask if it was retirement, or ask if it was the end, or
So,
or
okay,
what
so
year it represents, or that kind of a.
yeah, so now I know why you meant by liability. So all of these are retirements, except for there's one at the end, which is the fire chief's contract. It's a contractual payout. So that's why there was a differentiate on the explanation. But you know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 5 out of 6 are retired. And 3 out of the 4, 3 out of the 5 are second payments that of retirees, because we had split the payments up by fiscal year because that was part of the contractual negotiation. So they weren't getting a big chunk and the town didn't have to pay the full amount. So this is the second payment for a couple of these employees as per the contractual buyout.
So that for that particular person, and the second and final for those?
Exactly. Mhm.
Hi,
Yep.
this is Rig. I'm just trying to understand and trying to follow, you know, the logic behind this. So when you say buyout, um, how I understand a buyout is they're taking less than what they are supposed to be receiving. Is that my understanding? And this is the purpose of this breakdown, which is that the town negotiated something less from you know, I don't know, their service or whatever, but certainly a lesser pay.
Yeah, so all these payments represent a sick leave buyback, it's called, where an employee can buy out the balance at a percentage of, you know, the police had up to 50%, which no longer matters, of their unused sick time. So, but the clerical, the highway, the AFSCME, and they're like 25% of their sick hours. So it's at a reduced, they can't buy the whole 100%, obviously, but there was a time when I think some people were negotiating 100%. I don't know.
Okay, and this is only reflecting sick time, not PTO time.
Correct. Well, yeah, correct.
And
And
are we still operating? I'm just trying to understand
Mhm,
it, and again,
sure.
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, of course.
Because you know, different organizations like business organizations, they don't pay out sick leave, they pay out PTO, earned PTO time.
Mhm.
So is this the same? You know, the town of Bridgewater and those with who are civil service professionals, are we still operating the same manner in which they can cash out sick time?
Well, yeah, this is the sick leave portion of an employee's time. Under they do get their vacation pay separately if they have some time left, but that's usually um, either budgeted in the budget. It's not like it's not paid out of. This is this is a liability that contractually that we're tracking. I mean, we do track the vacation time too. That if any employee leaves, I think in any part of the Commonwealth, you know, you're obligated to pay any unused vacation time by FMLA, not just by contractual. But these are the specific contractual benefit time that they can buy.
Lori, can and this might help the team a little bit because I know it's a little confusing, but correct me if I'm wrong. This $154,000 is what's owed to these individuals per their contract with the unions, right? And as opposed to setting up a liability later on that we never budget for, we're taking money that we know we have and we're setting it aside for the purpose of covering that liability so that there's no surprises in the future.
Correct.
It's not a my guess is it's not a discounted rate. It's what we owe them. And the practice of sick leave buyback, years ago, we started negotiating that out of the union contracts because we were hit with such huge numbers when people with significant time in service left and they were all unbudgeted. So one, the contract started to change and we didn't pay for sick leave anymore. You couldn't accrue it and have, you know, a nice walk away check. And two, I think what Tony's trying to do is make sure we don't get blindsided with $154,000 in the future that we've not expensed or accounted for, because quite honestly, we can't budget for it, right? Like I think in the past we would say, what do we know? But we don't know necessarily when people are going to retire. So my guess is we're doing this to cover that liability, to make sure that we're not surprised and there aren't any surprises to the budget in the future. And I'm just adding that because I think there's probably still a little confusion, and hopefully that helps clear up some of it. Is everything I said correct, Lori?
Absolutely correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Very, very precise.
Thank you, Eric, for that additional insight, and also thank you, Lori, as well. I guess the
Welcome.
last question that I have is this the cap? So in other words, let's say, next quarter or the next fiscal year, are we going to be looking at something like this again?
Oh, we definitely will.
Okay.
But like I said, I won't keep talking about it, but we have been working on getting a future amount with good estimation, because obviously we know police and fire, they have to retire at age 65. So those are really the money balances left that we know we have to provide for. So we'll come before you guys with hopefully, a better. I mean, we'll have the money banked away and we'll be able to do this, because we don't know, like a person could just come to the chief and say, I'm retiring, I just filed my papers today. So sometimes when someone does and sometimes you don't. So
So is there any way to put in those contracts that you have to give a certain amount of notice or anything, or even like with sick time, have a certain number before you can buy back? Like the minimum balance of this? I know like with the school district, at one time there was, you had to have this much, to avoid having to pay for a substitute teacher, for instance, you'd have to have a balance of this many days or this many hours before you could get a payout. I think that's what we recently negotiated to, that kind of, I guess this, to your point, it'd be nice if there was a way to track it better,
yeah, well, we are tracking it better, and we're gonna come before you with a whole big giant amount, and you'll see it all.
Well, then we got to negotiate better so it's not so big.
Yeah, no, we have
I appreciate that
negotiated
they
it
come to
out.
work, don't get me wrong. I mean.
Oh yeah, but we've negotiated it out. So these buyouts really are just grandfathered in from from employees that have been covered. I mean, some of them 20 to 30 years that are just starting to retire. So
Thank you. You got the tough meeting, sorry.
I know.
He knew what he was doing, right? Thank
No
you,
gifts from the university here. All right, anybody else have any other questions, comments?
I did have a quick question, Nate. I just wanted to ask Laurie. Laurie, does this in any way have any effect on our ability to fund the OPEB trust, our portion of it at least?
No, we're funding that annually. Mhm.
MJ, maybe a little more clarification on.
I was gonna say, what is
Yeah.
that?
So OPEB, we're all municipalities are required to contribute to something called other post-employment benefits.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
usually part of your deductions. So where corporations usually do it like a pension, this is sort of guaranteeing that a municipality or a state agency can fund what would be considered other post-employment benefits. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lori, that usually includes unemployment insurance, pension, and I believe some other type of contractual benefit, but I'm kind of foggy on it since it's been a while since I've had to deep dive into OPEB stuff.
It's mostly healthcare costs and payments like we are seeing now, and pension costs. So that's part of the presentation that Tony's been working on, that will combine all of any buyouts, including pensions, and so that's the big presentation that you will receive, because you'll see an upcoming order in the next few weeks that of an investment into these kinds of into OPEB I don't want to talk too much about it, but I'll let Tony explain it better. He can give you a very clear and concise presentation on it.
Thank you. Good question though, MJ. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you. By
Good
the
to be
way.
seen.
Okay, anybody else? All right, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Thank you. Second?
Second, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Josh, if you could do a roll call for us, please.
Nathan,
Aye.
Eric. Eric,
Sorry, Josh, aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. Moving on to the next order of business, FY 22-012, transfer order. Old high school buyout agreement with the town of Rainham. Whew, this thing's been a long time coming. Lori, do you have a quick background you can maybe give some of the newer members?
Yeah, so after like years and years and years and years and years of back and forth, the town of Bridgewater and Rainham came to an agreement with the school department of purchasing the old high school. So I don't have the agreement in front of me, which I know this is payment number 2. Let me just get that. Sorry. I had it open and I lost it. But yeah, this is payment 2, and this will come before you usually in the capital order, but we were a little late in getting the capital order. Well, we made the payment in June, so this one's for the July payment. And you'll see this funded for the next 7 years. Let me get the contract up, sorry.
So 7 years, but number 2 of how,
Yeah, that's what I'll,
of how
sorry.
many?
Yeah. Shared finance, contracts. Sorry about that. I had it open earlier. Oh my God, there it is. Okay, sorry.
So Nate or Eric or myself, can, maybe for the newer people to town, I don't know, Rigo, if you're new to Bridgewater, do you know enough about that it used to be regionalized, where Mitchell in the middle is now, or where we vote used to be a regionalized high school building? Like, do you know enough of the history on that, or are you?
I do not.
Okay, so I'll kind of speak to that a little bit. So once upon a time, it was a high school, or 9 through 12 for both Bridgewater and Rainham. And then once upon a time, I'm not sure exactly the year, we ended up taking it, Bridgewater, the Bridgewater side took it over just for Bridgewater schools. And we never paid Rainham for the fact that now it wasn't a regionalized school building anymore. Because even though we're regionalized as a district across the board, K through 8, you know, is in each town individually. Do you know what I mean? And they just shared the high school. So it used to be a shared building for the high school, but over the last decade or more, it's been just Bridgewater occupying it, with the exception of some shared offices, like the superintendent's office and things like that. So we do owe Rainham for the fact that we utilized it independently for such a long period of time. Does that sound kind of like a half decent summary for those of you who are familiar? Eric, Nate?
Yep.
Kathy, I guess you said 20 years, yes?
Yeah, my sons went there.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, how long ago was that? It was when they opened up the new high school.
That would have been 2006, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
2007,
I think my son was
yeah.
the first freshman class, I mean, the senior class there.
Yeah.
But even before that, I think that's when the new high school opened, but prior to that, didn't we still have just Bridgewater schools in there, I believe? Bridgewater students for like 7th and 8th grade or something? Or-
Yeah, my son went to 8th grade there.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
The youngest
So-
one there, so.
So I got the agreement up in front of me. So it says back in 2007, whereas Bridgewater made improvements to the old high school. Bridgewater Rainham, total $7,300,000. Use the old high school. So this agreement is for 12 years with the town of Rainham to pay $700,000. So it's for the next 7 years, we're going to pay them $70,000, and then the next 5 years after that, it'll be $42,000. But it's a total payment of $700,000.
Okay, thank you for that info, Lori. You know, it has been a long time coming. This was a bit of an albatross that was hanging around the town's neck. It was ignored for a little while. So does anybody have any further questions, comments?
Yeah.
Chair will entertain a motion on this order.
I'll make the
Motion to
motion,
approve.
Julie.
Okay, Julie first, and who was second?
Second,
Okay, MJ, second. Josh, if we could take a roll call, please.
Nathan,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
MJ. MJ,
Unmute.
thank you.
my
Rig.
mic wasn't working.
Rig,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, moving on to our final order of new business for this evening. It's FY 22-013. Transfer order AFSCME contractual settlement. Lori, I'll let you start us off.
Sure. So this is the funding of the ratified contract that came before you, I believe, a month, maybe 2 months ago. And this represents payments from fiscal 20, last fiscal year, I mean fiscal 21, last fiscal year, and then the amounts that weren't budgeted in fiscal 22. And that's for the AFSCME union, which is the highway laborers, the water operators and employees in the water and the sewer department.
So Lori, just real quick, it's the retro for 21 and it's the bump for 22 that wasn't budgeted originally. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there a reason why it wasn't budgeted for 22?
Well, the contract wasn't settled, so we knew that they were gonna have a increase anyway. I mean, we just didn't know where it was going at the time, so this was the difference in what we estimated and what it actually became.
Thank you.
Sure.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, Nate, I think Julie brings up an interesting point, right? And it's probably not for tonight.
Thank
But-
you.
But when Tony, next time we're with Tony, you know, I think historically we have done negotiations, and if they're not finalized, they don't like to put in a number that's, you know, overly aggressive or overly conservative. But I don't know if by practice we should just put some of what we think that's going to be in the budget coming up. Because then there's just a little bit less sticker shock. So again, I don't think it's something we solve tonight, but it you know, we could try to get a little bit ahead of some of these, it feels like.
Do you think it's something that we could maybe address in the upcoming budget resolution, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that makes sense. So
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions, comments on this order?
I did have one quick question. I just want to know, this contract, is it going from since it's 21, is it going to be 21 through 23 or is it 22 through 24?
It is,
Good question.
yeah, I think it's a 3-year contract. It goes to 2023, I think. Let me just look.
So now that we have this number, does that mean we'd carry the number when we, like Eric just asked about, when we do the next budget, we know that this is what we paid?
Yeah, we already know what the numbers are because it's negotiated. It was a 3-year contract, so I think it went 21, 22, and 23. So we'll know next year what we're budgeting because we'll already have it stuck, established. Mhm.
Oh, and the other question I had, Lori, are there any other contracts that we have coming up yet? I left at a time when some of the contracts were still in the beginning of their negotiations, which I think was like police and fire, and that was like 18 or 19. Do we have any others coming up other than AFSCME that we've already taken care of? Do we have anything for USW or the police or the fire?
To my knowledge, this was the last one that was a prior year. I think the other contracts all expired as of fiscal 21, so there's no prior year retros. I think any negotiations will be in this fiscal year and then going forward.
All right, does anybody else have anything?
Motion to approve, Nate. Eric.
Second,
Second, Chris.
Okay, Josh, if you could do a roll call for us.
Nathan,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
MJ,
aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We do have additional items. I don't want to have to take up too much time tonight. There is a couple of things I would just like to touch on real fast. We actually had a pretty good turnout from the Finance Committee for the, what was that? The economic, MJ, you were there. What was the official name? Do you remember?
I want to say it was that comprehensive plan.
There you go.
Yeah, that sounds
done
right.
by Barrett Associates.
Yep. That's right. Thank you. And Julie was there also. And I got to say, it wasn't what I expected. They actually broke, and there were members of a bunch of different committees in town that were there. Rick, they did not tape it. That question.
Thank
And they did breakout groups, and we kind of freestyled a little bit, and just had open conversations. And I thought some pretty good ideas and thoughts and things nobody thought of came up during that process. MJ or Julie, you got anything to add?
Well, unfortunately, I, for one, and I mentioned to the staff, I was not prepared to be in groups. So I just, as you probably noticed, I wasn't actually in any of the workshop rooms. I actually spent some time speaking with, let me just see the names here. I spoke with Tyler, Alexis, mostly Alexis, and then a little bit with Fiona. And I explained to them some of my general concerns, and just to distill it down to some of the more basic chewable points here. I was most concerned from the economic standpoint, the budgetary standpoint, and the will of the community, as it were, because oftentimes we've done a lot of these things and they sometimes end up becoming the bookends to a bookshelf or something holding up a table. And that was one of my biggest general concerns. And that's basically what my conversations with those folks were. And they made note of it. I can still submit some comments. I think we have until tomorrow, but I think they pretty much got the gist of it.
Good.
Thank you for that.
No problem, Julie.
What about you, Julie? Any thoughts you want to share with the committee?
No, we're similar. Some of the same faces, some good note takers. I had a few questions on transportation, for the disabled or special needs type people in the town. Like, it's great that we have a commuter rail, but we don't have that, to the best of my knowledge, like an MBTA bus type thing, a bus type thing was one of the things. There was obviously talk about the downtown revitalizing some of those areas that are like Friendlies, et cetera, that have been vacated for quite some time, but we'll see what comes out of it, I guess.
You know, and
I
just
know.
as an aside too, this was an issue that came, this consulting group was something that, you know, the finance committee did discuss. In the past, you know, it came in front of us, to make a recommendation, you know, and it was an opportunity too, to kind of see an end result in some ways, by joining that group. So overall, I thought it was a positive experience. It was pretty kind of high level, you know, looking above the clouds a little bit type deal.
Right, I think Carlton Hunt was able to call him out on a couple of things. He's got a lot of history and all experience and
Yep.
a lot of duplication of some things, you know, so maybe we don't have to duplicate some of the things that they were. The town doesn't need to duplicate some things, I don't, and maybe save some money there, hopefully.
Yeah.
But that's all I have to say on that.
You know, and I guess the other thing I wanted to touch on real quick, and looking at the meetings, the minutes from the last meeting, it looks like, especially UMJ maybe touched on it, was the upcoming budget process. We will start that season very soon. Usually our first step will be the budget resolution that Eric and I kind of referred to real quickly. One thing that Tony and I did last year, because there can be a lot of different moving parts when this comes up, is that we sat down and talked, and we came up with a calendar budget schedule that also included the budget subcommittee from the town council. And it was dynamic, because sometimes we had to add things and move things as we went through the budget season. But it was nice because it gave everybody a blueprint to look at as we went through the budget season. Unfortunately, that kind of happened about, you know, a quarter of the way through the budget season before we did that. But I assume that Tony and I will have that conversation rather than later. And we will begin the budget season. Anybody have anything else?
Now, do we know when the next meeting
Oh,
may
yeah,
be?
thank you. Yeah. Josh, when would that be?
So we're still on that first and third Wednesday
Yep.
schedule.
Yep.
There's a town council meeting on the 5th, so
Okay.
that would make it a little difficult for the 6th.
Yep.
So I would look to the 20th as our next meeting.
The 20th.
So we would not be meeting before the
You mean the
town council,
13th,
is that what
Josh?
we're saying?
So if they meet on the 5th, we try to meet on the 13th, right?
Yeah, we can switch that. That's going to be the second Wednesday. Yeah, but we can meet the 13th if you guys would like.
Does that make sense to the committee to?
Yeah, I have a commitment on the 13th at 5:30, but I mean, you certainly have a meeting without me, but I'm just,
Yeah, we got 9 members now, Julie.
I know, it's awesome. That's why I was asking the new Kathleen. I'm like, yay, I didn't know who, I couldn't remember whose spot she took. That's not that I'm not happy to have you, because I definitely am.
So,
Thanks.
so just quick question, Josh, is the town council meetings the 5th and then the 19th? Is that right?
Yes.
So to me, it makes sense we meet the 13th.
Well, I was gonna say, Nate, does it make sense we do the second and fourth Wednesdays all the time? Because if not, we're always gonna run into that problem.
I know, exactly. I thought that's what we were on, to tell you the truth, but
So I can't actually do the 4th Wednesday. That's what the issue we ran into. I have CPC every 4th Wednesday.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And then I think when we discussed it, the second and third Wednesday was 2 back-to-back.
Right.
And there was a reason we couldn't go do Mondays, right, before, and what about Tuesdays, is that?
yeah, we already had this conversation.
Yeah.
We had people that were, yeah, so we landed on Wednesdays.
That's fine. I know you already changed the time for me, so I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we did.
So if you want to move the
We-
13th up earlier, that's fine too, because either way, I won't be able to make that one.
Yeah, I can be flexible for the second Wednesday. That's not an issue. It's the 4th Wednesday. That's the difficult one for me.
Yeah, that's a hard one for you. Yeah, it's just if we meet on the 20th, if they refer to any business to us on the 19th, then that goes to, that will go to the 3rd of November, right? I guess that's not an issue though. All right, any thoughts on the committee, 13th, 20th, does it?
I mean, I'm all for doing it on the 13th. I mean, I know I'm hearing folks don't want to do it back to back, but I feel like if there are things that are, I don't know what their schedule looks like right now for the council. If things are looking at a need for expediency, I would think that at some point we might have to have a back to back, week versus next week type of situation here. I'm all for whatever the rest of the committee is open to. My schedule is always open as long as it's not a Thursday night, only because the town hall I work at, we work till about 7:30 p.m. at night. So I wouldn't be able to be available at least until like 8:20, 8:15 on a Thursday.
Oh, no, you're not gonna. That'd be
I
crazy.
mean, I could work late. I'm all for working late into the night. I used to do it when I worked in Bridgewater, so I am not a stranger to late meetings.
The only thing I guess that would stink is that if the town council refers anything on the 19th, we can't get on the agenda for the 20th because we have our public notice,
Yeah, I definitely, if you're sticking with Wednesdays, I think you need to do the 13th.
Can I just tell you guys that there will be the capital plan and the capital orders will be coming out. We're hoping to get that on the agenda for not this week, but the next town council.
for the
We're gonna have the
19th.
free cash order. And then going into November, we'll be working on setting the tax rate. So there will be some things coming up, but I mean, we certainly can just keep communicating with you and Josh, Nathan, and you can touch base with the committee as to how much you think you need to meet or if you need a double Wednesday or whatever.
So I'm gonna say right now, let's set our next meeting for Wednesday, the 13th at 7 p.m. All right, and we'll see what business they got recommended on the 5th for us. And then if we have to, Josh, is there any, I know you have the CPC, is there any other part-time or, secretaries that could cover for you, or if we did the 27th?
Yeah, I mean, I could at least get the meeting started for you. Just one of you would need to take minutes and just watch for public and everything. And take a roll call.
Okay, I mean, if that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do, but I think as far as scheduling, yeah, that the 13th makes sense to me. Do I hear any major objection to that?
None on my end. It works for me too.
No objections.
Okay,
Works for me.
all right, so let's say that Wednesday, the 13th, 7 p.m. will be our next meeting.
Motion to adjourn, Nate. Eric.
Second,
MJ, thank you. Josh, if we could get a roll call.
Nathan,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
MJ,
aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Kathy.
Hi.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting's adjourned.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Have a good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.